The impossible encounter. The void of space trembled as 12,000 warships of the mighty Corvani Empire materialized from hyperspace like an ocean of death. Their dark hulls gleamed with the cold light of distant stars, each vessel a masterpiece of alien engineering that had conquered 100 worlds. Fleet Admiral Zix Thara stood motionless on the command deck of her flagship Eternal Judgment, her 6 eyes studying the tactical display with calculated satisfaction. Before them hung the human colony world of Kepler 442b, a blue-green marble suspended in the darkness, completely unaware that extinction approached from the void. The planet's orbital traffic moved in lazy patterns, civilian transports and mining vessels going about their daily routines like insects before a hurricane. Zixithara's chitinous mandibles clicked together in what passed for amusement among her kind. "Pathetic," she muttered, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had personally overseen the destruction of 15 different civilizations. These humans barely qualify as a spacefaring species. Their largest vessels are smaller than our scout ships. Around the massive flagship, the Corvani battle fleet maintained perfect formation. Each ship was a kilometer-long instrument of destruction, armed with plasma cannons that could melt continents and shielded by energy fields that could deflect asteroid impacts. The Empire's military doctrine was simple and brutally effective: overwhelming force, followed by complete submission or total annihilation. Sub-Admiral Kextar, Zixthara's second-in-command, approached with the latest intelligence reports. His scaled hands gestured toward the holographic display showing the human world's defensive capabilities. "Fleet Admiral, our scouts have completed their reconnaissance. The humans possess no orbital defense platforms, no military stations, and their largest warships appear to be converted civilian vessels with primitive kinetic weapons." Zixthara studied the data with growing confidence. In her 3 centuries of military service, she had never encountered a species so woefully unprepared for contact with the Empire. Most civilizations at least attempted to build defensive installations once they detected the approach of the fleet. The humans seemed blissfully ignorant of their fate. "How many military vessels do they possess in this system?" she asked, already knowing the answer would be disappointingly small. 17 ships total, Admiral. Most appear to be patrol craft or system defense vessels. Nothing that could pose even a theoretical threat to our forces." Kextar paused, checking his data pad. "There is one anomaly, however. A single ship approximately 400 meters in length is moving to intercept our formation." The Fleet Admiral's attention snapped to the tactical display. A tiny red dot had appeared on the screen, accelerating away from the human world directly toward the center of the Corvani fleet. The computer identified it as a human vessel, but its size and energy signature were unlike anything in their intelligence files. "Specifications?" Zixthara demanded, her voice carrying a note of curiosity rather than concern. "The vessel appears to be heavily modified, Admiral. Hull composition suggests advanced metallurgy beyond standard human capabilities. Power readings are unusual. The ship generates significantly more energy than should be possible for its size." Kextar's voice carried a hint of confusion. "It's broadcasting identification signals. The vessel is called Prometheus." Scattered murmurs rippled through the command deck as officers processed this information. A single human ship approaching 12,000 Corvani warships was either an act of supreme courage or complete insanity. Given what they knew about human technology, insanity seemed more likely. A single human warship against 12,000 alien vessels. Complete HFY Story. Part 1. The Impossible Encounter. The void of space trembled as 12,000 warships of the mighty Corvani Empire materialized from hyperspace like an ocean of death. Their dark hulls gleamed with the cold light of distant stars, each vessel a masterpiece of alien engineering that had conquered 100 worlds. Fleet Admiral Zixthara stood motionless on the command deck of her flagship Eternal Judgment, her 6 eyes studying the tactical display with calculated satisfaction. Before them hung the human colony world of Kepler 442b, a blue-green marble suspended in the darkness, completely unaware that extinction approached from the void. The planet's orbital traffic moved in lazy patterns, civilian transports and mining vessels going about their daily routines like insects before a hurricane. Zixthara's chitinous mandibles clicked together in what passed for amusement among her kind. "Pathetic," she muttered, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had personally overseen the destruction of 15 different civilizations. "These humans barely qualify as a spacefaring species. Their largest vessels are smaller than our scout ships." Around the massive flagship, the Corvani battle fleet maintained perfect formation. Each ship was a kilometer-long instrument of destruction, armed with plasma cannons that could melt continents and shielded by energy fields that could deflect asteroid impacts. The Empire's military doctrine was simple and brutally effective: overwhelming force followed by complete submission or total annihilation. Sub-Admiral Kextar, Zixthara's second-in-command, approached with the latest intelligence reports. His scaled hands gestured toward the holographic display showing the human world's defensive capabilities. "Fleet Admiral, our scouts have completed their recon. Naissance. The humans possess no orbital defense platforms, no military stations, and their largest warships appear to be converted civilian vessels with primitive kinetic weapons." Zixthara studied the data with growing confidence. In her 3 centuries of military service, she had never encountered a species so woefully unprepared for contact with the Empire. Most civilizations at least attempted to build defensive installations once they detected the approach of the fleet. The humans seemed blissfully ignorant of their fate. "How many military vessels do they possess in this system?" she asked, already knowing the answer would be disappointingly small. 17 ships total, Admiral. Most appear to be patrol craft or system defense vessels, nothing that could pose even a theoretical threat to our forces." Kextar paused, checking his datapad. "There is one anomaly, however. A single ship approximately 400 meters in length is moving to intercept our formation." The fleet admiral's attention snapped to the tactical display. A tiny red dot had appeared on the screen, accelerating away from the human world directly toward the center of the Corvani fleet. The computer identified it as a human vessel, but its size and energy signature were unlike anything in their intelligence files. "Specifications?" Zixthara demanded, her voice carrying a note of curiosity rather than concern. "The vessel appears to be heavily modified, Admiral. Hull composition suggests advanced metallurgy beyond standard human capabilities. Power readings are unusual. The ship generates significantly more energy than should be possible for its size." Kextar's voice carried a hint of confusion. "It's broadcasting identification signals. The vessel is called Prometheus." Scattered murmurs rippled through the command deck as officers processed this information. A single human ship approaching 12,000 Corvani warships was either an act of supreme courage or complete insanity. Given what they knew about human technology, insanity seemed more likely. "Human vessel Prometheus, I am Fleet Admiral Zixthara of the Corvani Empire's 3rd Conquest Fleet. You will power down your engines immediately and prepare for boarding. Your world has been selected for integration into the Empire. Surrender now and your species will be preserved as a client race. Continue this foolish resistance, and we will reduce your planet to molten slag." The human captain's expression didn't change. He listened to the translation with the same calm attention he might give to a routine status report. When Zixthara finished speaking, Marcus Webb was quiet for a long moment, his steady gaze never leaving the screen. "Admiral Zixthara," he finally said, "I want to make sure I understand your position correctly. You've brought an armed fleet into our space, threatened our colony, and demanded our surrender. Is that accurate?" "Completely accurate, human. Your primitive technology cannot oppose the might of the Corvani Empire. Submit now and minimize the casualties among your people." Captain Webb nodded slowly, as if considering her words carefully. "I see. Well, Admiral, let me share something with you about human history. Throughout our existence, we've faced extinction-level events, asteroid impacts, ice ages, supervolcano eruptions, global pandemics. Each time, we were told by the universe itself that our time was over. Each time, we looked death in the face and said, "Not today." Zixthara found herself oddly impressed by the human's composure, even as she prepared to demonstrate the futility of his position. "Brave words, Captain Webb. But this is not a natural disaster. This is the Corvani Empire. We have conquered worlds that make your Earth look like a grain of sand." "Perhaps," Webb replied, "but you've never conquered us." The human captain made a gesture to someone off-screen, and the communication channel closed. The Prometheus Co. continued its steady approach toward the center of the Corvani formation, still showing no signs of powering weapons or raising additional shields. To all observers, it appeared to be heading directly into a situation that could only end in its complete destruction. "Curious," Sub-Admiral Kekstar observed. "Most species either surrender immediately or launch desperate attacks when faced with our fleet. These humans seem to be doing neither." Zixthara studied the tactical display, watching the lone human ship approach her massive armada. Something about this situation felt different from her previous conquests, though she couldn't identify exactly what. Perhaps it was the complete lack of fear in the human captain's voice, or the strange confidence with which he had closed their communication. "All ships maintain formation," she broadcast to the fleet. "This appears to be some form of gesture from their military. We'll allow them to approach and see what they actually intend to do. After that, we'll provide a demonstration of our capabilities before accepting their planet's surrender." The 12,000 ships of the Corvani fleet continued their advance toward the human colony world. Around them, the single vessel Prometheus grew larger on their sensors, but remained pathetically small compared to even the Empire's smallest escorts. To Zixthara's experienced eye, it looked like a rowboat challenging an entire navy. As the distance closed, more details about the human ship became visible. Despite its relatively small size, the Prometheus appeared to be heavily modified with technology that didn't quite match standard human engineering profiles. Strange geometric patterns covered portions of the hull, and the ship's energy signature continued to puzzle the Corvani sensors. "Admiral," the sensor operator called out, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the human vessels. Their power output is fluctuating in patterns I don't recognize." "Elaborate," Zixthara ordered, though she remained unconcerned. Whatever modifications the humans had made to their primitive ship, it couldn't possibly threaten her fleet. "The vessel appears to be charging some form of weapon system, but the energy signature is unlike anything in our databases. It's almost as if they're manipulating space-time itself." This got the fleet admiral's attention. The Corvani Empire possessed some of the most advanced technology in the known galaxy, but even they had only theoretical knowledge of weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of reality. Surely these primitive humans couldn't have developed something beyond the Empire's capabilities. "Could be a malfunction in their primitive systems," suggested the tactical officer, "or perhaps they're trying to overload their reactors for a suicide attack." Zixthara considered this possibility, but something about the human captain's confidence continued to bother her. Marcus Webb had shown no signs of desperation or suicidal intent. He had spoken like someone who knew exactly what he was doing. "Continue monitoring their vessel," she ordered. "All weapons remain powered down until further notice. I want to see what they're actually planning." The Prometheus had now penetrated the outer perimeter of the Corvani formation. Massive warships surrounded the small human vessel like predators circling wounded prey. At any moment, Zixthara could order her fleet to open fire and vaporize the intruder in seconds. Yet something made her hesitate. Perhaps it was professional curiosity about what desperate plan the humans had devised. Perhaps it was respect for their remarkable courage in the face of impossible odds. Or perhaps it was the growing certainty that she was missing some crucial piece of information about this encounter. Whatever the reason, Fleet Admiral Zixthara made a decision on that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Instead of immediately destroying the human ship, she chose to wait and see what Captain Marcus Webb was really planning to do against 12,000 Corvani warships. The unthinkable victory. Captain Marcus Webb stood calmly on the bridge of the Prometheus as 12,000 alien warships surrounded his vessel like a steel constellation of death. The main view screen showed the massive Corvani flagship Eternal Judgment directly ahead, its kilometer-long hull bristling with enough weaponry to crack planets. His crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency, showing none of the panic that most people would feel in such an impossible situation. "Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Sarah Chen from the science station, "all systems are showing green across the board. The quantum field generators are at full capacity, and the temporal displacement matrix is synchronized." Webb nodded, his expression remaining calm, despite the magnitude of what they were about to attempt. "Excellent work, Sarah. Dr. Martinez, what's the status on our special modifications?" Dr. Elena Martinez looked up from her console, her eyes bright with the excitement of someone about to witness a breakthrough that would rewrite the laws of physics. "All quantum entanglement networks are stable, Captain. The dimensional resonance field is holding at precisely the frequency we calculated. We're ready to initiate on your command." The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of advanced systems that the Corvani Empire couldn't even begin to comprehend. What the aliens saw as a primitive human vessel was actually the culmination of humanity's greatest scientific achievement, a project so classified that fewer than 50 people in the entire galaxy knew of its existence. 3 years ago, human scientists had made a discovery that changed everything. While studying quantum mechanics at the subatomic level, they had found a way to manipulate the fundamental forces that held reality together. Not just theoretical manipulation, but practical applications that could bend space, time, and matter to human will. The technology was still in its experimental stages, with the Prometheus serving as the only test platform for what humanity privately called Project Prometheus. The ship's unassuming exterior concealed quantum field generators that could alter the laws of physics in localized space, creating effects that appeared magical to any observer who didn't understand the underlying science. "Communications, open a channel to the entire Corvani fleet," Webb ordered. "I want every ship in their armada to hear this message." "Channel open, Captain," reported Lieutenant Torres. "All 12,000 vessels are receiving our transmission." Webb stepped forward, knowing that his next words would either save humanity or doom it to extinction. The alien fleet possessed overwhelming firepower and numerical superiority, but they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated the species that had survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, and countless other extinction events through sheer stubborn refusal to surrender. "Admiral Zixthara and commanders of the Corvani fleet," he began, his voice carrying across space to 12,000 alien warships. "I want to thank you for gathering your entire armada in one convenient location. It will make what I'm about to do much more efficient." On the flagship's bridge, Fleet Admiral Zixthara stared at the human captain's image with growing confusion. The primitive creature was speaking as if he held some advantage, despite being outnumbered 12,000 to 1. Either the human had completely lost his mind, or he was bluffing in a desperate attempt to avoid destruction. "Continue monitoring their vessel," she ordered her crew. "The moment they make any hostile move, all ships are to open fire simultaneously." Captain Webb continued his transmission with the same calm confidence he had shown throughout the encounter. "You see, Admiral, you've made a fundamental error in your assessment of humanity. You looked at our technology and saw primitives who barely deserved to exist. What you failed to understand is that we've learned something during our brief time among the stars." The human captain paused, and his expression grew deadly serious. "We've learned that the universe is far stranger and more malleable than most species realize. We've learned to see beyond the obvious, to find patterns in chaos, and to turn the impossible into the inevitable." Dr. Martinez looked up from her console and nodded to Webb. All systems were ready. The quantum field generators were operating at peak efficiency, and the dimensional resonance field had achieved perfect stability. Whatever happened next would either mark humanity's greatest triumph or its final moment. "Dr. Martinez," Webb said quietly, "initiate Project Prometheus." The science officer's hands moved across her controls with practiced precision. Quantum field generators online. Temporal displacement matrix activated. Dimensional resonance field at maximum output. She looked up at her captain. "All systems are go, sir." What happened next would be debated by scientists and military theorists for centuries. The Prometheus seemed to flicker out of existence for a microsecond, then reappeared in exactly the same location. To most observers, nothing appeared to have changed. The human ship was still surrounded by 12,000 Corvani warships, still hopelessly outnumbered and outgunned. But something fundamental had shifted in the fabric of reality around the alien fleet. On the bridge of the Eternal Judgment, Fleet Admiral Zix Thara watched in growing confusion as her tactical displays began showing impossible readings. According to her sensors, space itself was behaving strangely around the human vessel. Energy readings were fluctuating in patterns that defied everything the Corvani knew about physics. "Report," she demanded, her voice carrying the first note of concern she had shown since the encounter began. "Admiral," the sensor operator called out, his voice filled with confusion. "I'm detecting massive space-time distortions throughout our formation. It's as if reality itself is bending around the human ship." Before Zix Thara could respond, the impossible began to happen. The Prometheus suddenly appeared to be in multiple locations simultaneously. One moment it was at the center of the Corvani formation. The next it seemed to exist in a dozen different positions at once, each image solid and real according to their sensors. "Temporal echoes," Dr. Martinez explained to her human colleagues, though the aliens couldn't hear her words. "We're existing in multiple dimensional phases simultaneously. From their perspective, we're everywhere and nowhere at the same time." Captain Webb watched the alien fleet's confusion with grim satisfaction. "Weapons, target the flagship's primary power core. All other systems, prepare for rapid dimensional shifts." What the Corvani saw next challenged their understanding of everything they thought they knew about warfare. The human ship seemed to phase in and out of existence, appearing behind enemy vessels, firing precisely targeted shots, then vanishing before return fire could reach it. Each attack struck with surgical precision, disabling key systems without destroying the ships entirely. But that wasn't the most terrifying part of humanity's revelation. The real horror began when Fleet Admiral Zix Thara realized that the Prometheus wasn't just moving through space impossibly fast, it was manipulating the quantum entanglement between her ships, using the Corvani fleet's own communication networks against them. Every shot the human vessel fired was somehow amplified and redirected through quantum pathways, turning the Empire's advanced technology into a weapon against itself. "How is this possible?" Zix Thara demanded as ship after ship in her Armada reported critical system failures. "No species possesses technology that can manipulate quantum fields at this level." The answer came from Captain Webb himself, his image appearing on every screen throughout the Corvani fleet. "You're right, Admiral. Most species don't develop this technology, but humans have always been exceptionally good at doing impossible things when our survival depends on it." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted exactly 17 minutes. When it was over, 12,000 Corvani warships hung motionless in space, their weapons disabled, their engines offline, their crews alive but completely helpless. The mighty Third Conquest Fleet of the Corvani Empire had been defeated by a single human vessel using science so advanced it appeared to be magic. Fleet Admiral Zix Thara sat in her command chair, staring at the tactical display that showed her entire armada disabled and defenseless. In 3 centuries of military service, she had never experienced defeat. The concept was so foreign to her that she struggled to process what had actually happened. "Admiral," Captain Webb's voice came through the communication system, "your fleet is now completely disabled, but your crews are unharmed. Consider this a demonstration of humanity's position in this galaxy. We don't seek to conquer or dominate other species. We simply refuse to be conquered ourselves. The human captain's image appeared on the main screen, and Zixithara found herself looking into the eyes of someone who had just accomplished the impossible. There was no cruelty in his expression, no triumph at her defeat, only the calm resolve of someone who had done what was necessary to protect his people. Your ship's engines and life support systems will be restored in 24 hours, Webb continued. That should give you enough time to consider whether you want to continue this conflict or discuss more peaceful alternatives. I suggest you choose wisely. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge of the Eternal Judgment in stunned silence. Around them in space, the 12,000 ships of what had been the most feared fleet in Corvani history drifted helplessly, victims of human technology that shouldn't have been possible to develop for another 1,000 years. Sub-Admiral Kekstar was the first to speak. Admiral, how do we report this to Imperial Command? How do we explain that our entire fleet was defeated by a single enemy vessel? Zixithara continued staring at the tactical display, her mind trying to process the implications of what had just occurred. If humanity possessed this level of technology, then every assumption the Corvani Empire had made about Earth's capabilities was not just wrong, but catastrophically wrong. We don't report it, she said finally. Not yet. First, we need to understand what we're actually dealing with. These humans have just demonstrated capabilities that exceed our own by centuries. We need to completely reassess our approach to this species. The fleet admiral looked around her disabled bridge, seeing her own shock reflected in the faces of her officers. The Corvani Empire had built its reputation on technological superiority and overwhelming force. In 17 minutes, one human ship had shattered both advantages so completely that she wondered if her civilization would ever recover from the psychological impact. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as the massive alien fleet hung powerless around his vessel. The quantum field generators were cycling down to standby mode, and the dimensional resonance field was slowly returning space-time to its normal configuration. Captain, Dr. Martinez reported, all systems performed flawlessly. The quantum entanglement network exceeded our most optimistic projections, and the temporal displacement matrix maintained perfect stability throughout the engagement. Webb nodded, though he felt no satisfaction in their victory. Humanity had just revealed its greatest secret to a hostile alien empire, fundamentally altering the balance of power in this region of the galaxy. There would be consequences, and not all of them would be positive. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Inform them that Project Prometheus was a complete success, but also warn them that we've now painted a target on our entire species. Every major power in the galaxy will want to either acquire our technology or destroy us before we can use it against them. Lieutenant Torres looked up from his communication station. Captain, we're receiving thousands of transmissions from the disabled Corvani ships. Most appear to be status reports and damage assessments, but several are requesting permission to communicate with us directly. Route any diplomatic requests through Earth Command, Webb replied. This situation is now far beyond what one ship captain should be handling alone. The Prometheus began moving away from the disabled alien fleet, its quantum drives leaving no trace of exotic particles that could be analyzed or tracked. In a few hours, the ship would return to Earth, carrying news of humanity's first major interstellar conflict, and its impossible victory. Behind them, Fleet Admiral Zixithara watched the human vessel disappear into the darkness of space. For the first time in her long military career, she found herself feeling something completely unfamiliar, respect for an enemy who had shown her mercy when they could have shown her death. The message would eventually reach every corner of the galaxy. Humanity had announced its presence among the stars, not with conquest or diplomacy, but with a demonstration of power that defied comprehension. One human ship had disabled 12,000 alien vessels, proving that Earth's children were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. The age of human expansion into the galaxy had begun, and it would be nothing like what the established powers had expected.